What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be reviewing episode 4 of The Bad Batch, which was definitely a very intense episode and saw a lot of chaos unfold and also set up even more storylines for future episodes. The episode started off with The Bad Batch needing to land somewhere in order to gather some more fuel and rations, and the closest planet they could find was Pantora, which is a planet that we have actually seen before in a single Clone Wars episode named Sphere of Influence, although it has been mentioned plenty of times before in Star Wars, and it is actually home to the Pantoran species who are very similar looking to the Chiss. Now, upon landing, the owner of their landing bay actually noticed Omega and knew that she was wanted and alerted a bounty hunter who turns out to be Fennec, so she has finally made her appearance in the show. Now, I'm sure most of you already know Fennec, but for anyone who maybe hasn't seen The Mandalorian, Fennec did actually appear in Mando for I think maybe 4 or so episodes, and she was actually teamed up with Boba Fett. So this isn't her first appearance in Star Wars, and we did also know that she would be showing up at some point just due to the fact that she was actually in the trailer, but it is great to see her finally make her first appearance. So anyway, she's alerted to the fact that they're there, and she has a hologram of Omega, so she's clearly after Omega rather than just the Bad Batch in general, and she makes her way to Pantora in order to try and capture Omega. Now, it's not really known as of right now whether she's working for the Kaminoans, as they obviously want Omega back, whether she's working for the Empire as maybe they want her for whatever reason, or my own hope, and this is definitely just a hope, is that she's already teamed up with Boba Fett, who would be quite young at this point, but we have already seen him running his own crew in the Clone Wars, and she could just be reporting to Boba or even perhaps Jabba if it does go that high up the chain. So that's definitely the most interesting thread to come out of this episode for me personally, and I cannot wait to see just who she's actually reporting to. I think it probably makes the most sense that she's just working as a bounty hunter for the Kaminoans, as obviously they worked with Django, who was also a bounty hunter, so it just seems like that's the most likely option, especially since they made it clear that they want to get her back, as she does seem rather important to them for reasons we don't quite know yet. Now, that being said, I think it would be pretty awesome to see more people involved. Maybe Boba or Jabba have been alerted to just how important Omega is, and perhaps they just want to capture her and hold her ransom to the Empire or the Kaminoans or something like that. So like I said, that's definitely a very interesting little thread there that we'll no doubt learn more about in the coming episodes, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. The other thought that I've just had literally while recording this is maybe, if she is working for Boba, maybe Boba wants her because, she's in a way his sister, and so yeah, again, bit of a tinfoil hat theory there, but that's just my hopes. I did say that I wanted to see Boba, and if it does end up going that way, it would seem a little bit weird to just have him randomly sort of want her for, for a ransom, when in a way she is essentially his sister. So, like I said, bit of a tinfoil hat theory there, but definitely something that would be an interesting thread if it does go that way. Now, it was already pretty obvious, but it is just becoming more and more apparent that Omega is pretty much the key to everything in this show. It seems to be a lot less about the actual Bad Batch themselves and more about protecting her, as well as all the other sides trying to essentially capture her or return her to the Kaminoans. So I'm still very interested to find out just what is so special about her and why they all want her so badly. I assumed heading into the show that the Bad Batch being on the run or perhaps joining the rebellion would be the main through line of the series and would pretty much be the entire focus of the show, but that does seem to be pretty much the least important aspect as of right now, which I think just goes to show how strong the show has actually been so far, as there's already 3 or 4 solid storylines unfolding only 4 episodes in, with Crosshair's arc being one, Fennec and her whole mystery of who she's working with being another, Omega being the third, and then yeah, the Bad Batch just trying to survive being the final little storyline. So I think they've done an awesome job so far at setting this story up and not just making it a, vanilla sort of boring show where it's just about one squad on the run from the Empire. Now, something else that happened in this episode was that Tech and Wrecker were actually working on the ship while everything else was happening, and Tech mentioned that with a slight adjustment, which is essentially what they were working on, they'd be able to scramble the ship's signature whenever they need to, and that is actually a pretty big revelation for the rest of the series, as I think moving forward it might be a little bit easier for them to escape or hide once they are noticed. The Ghost from Rebels had the ability to scramble its signature as well, and that obviously allowed Hera and the crew to be a little bit more, I guess, mischievous with their tactics, as they didn't need to be so worried about getting caught. And so it's not the biggest reveal by any means, but I thought that was just something that was pretty noteworthy, because they can hopefully now just have a little bit more freedom with that ability to scramble their signature. Now, that's pretty much it for this episode. Honestly, as much as there were a heap of things going on, it was pretty self-contained in a way, so there's not too much to talk about compared to last week, for example. I made the mistake of kind of saying that it seemed like somewhat of a filler in my full episode reaction on Patreon, but now that I've had the time to sort of digest it and realise how important on some of those parts, where I think it did still progress the story pretty well considering it was rather self-contained. I think Fennec's introduction is probably bigger than it seems in a way. I think because we already knew she was going to be in the show, it doesn't seem all that important, but until we find out who she's actually working for, I think that has a large part to play in the show, and it did progress the story enough that I don't think it qualifies as a filler episode at all now, although I can see how some people will likely say that, as it was somewhat of a little side mission type of episode, but overall I thought it was great and I cannot wait for episode 5 next week. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm interested to hear who you guys think Fennec Shand is working for and just where the next episode might take us. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. As always, a massive thank you to my channel members and my patrons for the continued support. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel as well, then be sure to check out the Patreon page that is linked down in the description. I do upload full episode reactions every single week on Patreon, so if that is something you guys are interested in, then like I said, be sure to check out that link down below. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Crush them! Make them suffer!